Well, hello everyone. Just kind of sliding around here. Yeah, I'm in the middle of my redesign of the state manager, or maybe not so much the redesign. I have the plans more or less written up. It's just the implementation is gonna take a while. Yeah, there we go. It doesn't really do much, but there's actually more going on behind the scenes than it might seem like. I'm not really quite ready to talk about it yet because I want to get further ahead, and at this point, I think that I'm just beginning, but there are a few. It's turning out really nice. So far it's a nice system to work with. I almost thought about not doing a update this week because I figured if I don't have anything worthwhile to show or talk about, there's no real reason to publish anything. But I actually think I do have something interesting to share. So, my thought on this is, I want every update to either have something interesting to look at, or maybe something kind of neat to learn, or ideally both. In this case, I don't have much I can show, but maybe I can teach you something that you might be interested in seeing how it works. So I do want to talk about style bonuses. And I had the foresight to save a working version of my game here. So I can pull up the old version. And I think if nothing else, this might be a good opportunity to maybe for me to practice talking and playing this at the same time. And I'm going to give it a go because I have to show you the end of the level here. So we're going to start a brand new game, and I have my microphone sitting right in front of me. So we're going to see how this is done. So what you're looking at here, this is the very first level, and splat. There are some abilities that you have at this point that you won't have initially. One of them being the flying kick. I don't think I want to start the player off with that. Oh, I keep doing that too. I need to adjust the sensitivity of falling damage. You're supposed to take damage if you fall more than, I think, either 8 or 12 tiles. Basically, I think I messed that one up too. Well, that's okay. I don't know if I necessarily want to show a perfect run, which you're not going to see. I've had so much practice with this level. When I was first, designing more basic aspects of this game, that I got really good at it to the point. Well, here we go. So I picked up those books. Let me read algebra. Oh, I don't have enough experience because I messed up that one thing. Okay. See, I need 4,000 experience. I was say I had this level down really well. I'll see if I can do this without the dotted lines. Okay, now I have enough experience. See, if I hadn't messed up that one jump, I would have had enough experience points to read this right off the bat. Okay, so now I have algebra. Yeah, see, now I get the little dots. I don't think I have enough XP for scouting. No. So you can see at the upper right, it says 4,060. That's the amount of experience I've earned. But you can see I only have 60 available to spend. Here, I can pull up, the main character stats. Reputation. Okay, so that's what I wanted to talk about in my update today is reputation, style points, score, that kind of thing. And the thing I messed up. Let me save my game. So this game is I'm doing very well at talking and playing this at the same time. Okay, see these little dots here? If you get them, like that in quick succession, you get a bonus. And that bonus reflects in bonus experience. So this game rewards you for completing the levels as fast as you can. Basically, can you speed run them? And it's set up so that, with the oh, I did not mean to use an axe. Well, anyway. It's set up so that I'm hesitant to go for. Okay, I got that. That's the gold. Oh, I have axes. So anyway, it's set up so that you can always replay a level to try to get a better score, and your experience points is based off of your best score. So yeah, I wanted there to be a finite number of experience points in the game, which really discourages grinding. That's the one thing I don't like about RPGs is just the amount of grinding you have to do for experience, money, or whatever. What's that too? Okay, I get that thing. Yeah, I'm going to have at the beginning of these levels eventually something that shows a mission. Okay, so these things, I want to share how to implement this kind of thing. Achievements, I guess you could also call these. If you guessed what game motivated me to do this, if you thought Smash Brothers, that's it. These are the Smash Brothers style, little bonuses you get at the end of the level. I did pretty well. Just kind of show you what they are. So Sprightly Superstar means there's 2 par times. I beat the better of the 2. Very cool. So the little coins I was picking up, there were 10 sequences of them. And if you get them really fast, you get a cool bonus. I only got 9 out of the 10. That's actually going to hit my rating pretty hard on the next page. Gem collector is 59. There's 59 gems total. I got all of them, so that's truly outrageous. There's another Apogee game, Cosmos Cosmic Adventure, and it had a little star rating for how many stars you picked up, and the more stars you got, it would say groovy or tubular, that kind of thing. So that's truly outrageous. Gold Digger means I got all the gold coins. There's only one. No, never mind. That means I got a coin. Prospector means I got all the gold. Yeah, the gold. So what you can do with the gold is you can spend those in shops, and that gives you a power up. But it also permanently adds more power-up pickups in the levels. So I usually like to put those gold coins in places where they're a little bit risky to get, or you have to do some exploring to get. So you're rewarded for taking some risks, or taking some time to explore, that kind of thing. I know that kind of contradicts the speedrunning aspect of things, but again, you can go through the levels twice. And another thing is you can go through the levels again with the higher power-ups. So, if you just barely beat a level and got a really bad time and a really bad, experience score, you can replay it later when you're all buffed up and just tear through it and get a really good score. And again, I just like to, give the player a sense of progress so they, feel like they're growing. Queen of Hearts means I got all the hearts, of course. Hardy is the number of hit points I picked up. Insurable, if you don't take a lot of damage, I forgot what the threshold is, but if you don't take a lot of damage, you're insurable. And then excellent sniping, if you snipe a enemy with an axe before it sees you, you get a sniping. Okay, so rogue rating. Let's see how I did. Yeah, I've done better. It goes up to 800. And I got an 800 a couple times. Since then, I can't seem to get better than S. So yeah, D, C, B, A, S. I didn't know this was a thing. So there are some video games I read, and I might be wrong because I read this off Wikipedia, so take it with a grain of salt. But this was a thing with Japanese video games in particular, which is not something I'm really much of an expert in. Like I said, I grew up with DOS games, and a lot of those, like Apogee and Epic, were American companies, at least to my understanding. But, these other games, Devil May Cry is the one I'm thinking of. So when I was in college, the house I lived in the dorms, we had a TV in the living room, and people would play games, and everyone would gather around and watch people play. Live Let's Plays, I guess. This was before Let's Play was, I think, a thing that people talked about. But I remember watching this guy play Devil May Cry, and he just got really into trying to get those S ranks. So if you do really, really well, you get an S rank. And I thought, okay, I like that system. I mean, have D, C, B, like A, S, but I also added a P for perfect. So yeah, if you get an 800, it's a perfect rating. I used to run a MUD. So this is a MUD server. I think I mentioned this before. And it's a text-based MMORPG. Think like EverQuest, World of Warcraft, those kinds of games, but all text-based. And generally they're smaller, like 30, 40, 50 players, typically online at any one time at the most. Yeah, when I ran that, this was during the beginning days of the Iraq War and the Afghanistan conflict, and I had a lot of players who were stationed overseas in Afghanistan that don't have a good internet connection. What can you do? We can play a text-based game. There's plenty of bandwidth for that. So I had a lot of those players over there, and the gimmick in that thing was that as all the characters gain experience, there was an academy that was awarding it, and they give you little ratings for completing the areas and things like that, and people will get really into wanting to get that S rank, and then I put in a P1 for perfect. This actually has a practical effect in the game, though. So I have not put anything in this yet, but what you can do is some of these spots on the map will be stores and cities, friendly places you can go. And I can pull up the status. So I forgot, what did I get, a B? Yeah, because D is 1 reputation point, C is 2, so B is 3. Okay, so yeah, I had a B. You get reputation points, and it's just kind of based off the rank. I think at some point it starts skipping. I think P is 8, and then S is 6, but then A would be 4, and then 3, 2, 1. What the reputation does is it affects how the citizens in the villages will treat you, in particular the store owners. So there are some store owners that if you have a low reputation, they're just going to go, you're not, I'm not going to even bother trying to sell this to you. You're nothing. But as the reputation grows higher and higher, then, they'll start treating you with more respect. You can, buy things that may not be available. Maybe some other NPCs will, be willing to talk to you, and then you can get some quests or, things like that otherwise would be locked. I'm not sure how far I want to go with this, but one thought I had was that I could make a easy mode and a hard mode of the game, and the hard mode, maybe the NPCs will actually get, like the guards and such, they'll actually get harder or more of them if you build up your reputation. Not sure I want to do that for a normal playthrough, because I think that almost punishes people for doing well, but it might be fun to have a version of the game that kind of scales up in difficulty with the skill of the player. So if you're up for a real challenge, let me throw everything I got at you. So yeah, I like the way the reputation system's working, and you can see there's a pretty nice experience point bonus at the end of a level, especially if you get a high rating. So you really want to get those, I guess we can call them achievements. I call them style bonuses, but achievements I think is more common knowledge. So yeah, the more of those you get, the more experience points you earn. And now I have enough to read. I should have enough to read the rest of the books. However, somehow I got through the first level without picking up all the books. Whoops. I don't know how I did that. Oh, duh. Never mind. That's the status menu. There we go. There's the books. Okay. So, punch focus. When you run out of energy, your hits become really weak. You can get the focus books that will more or less teach you how to hit at full force, even when you've exhausted all of your move points. So that kind of negates the worst effects of running out of those move points, and then after that it becomes more of a bonus than a penalty. And very early on I wanted to make it so that players aren't hindered too much by running out of moves, because it's easy to run out of them. You only start with 20, and just climbing up a wall can drain a lot of them. So we'll get that. That's almost a necessity. The other thing about these books too is this is actually one of my ways to teach the player how to play the game. Start with a very basic set of skills, and instead of having a tutorial, to teach the player how to, use all these skills, I can have them as, pickups, and then the player can learn how to use them as they play through the game. And at least now it feels like you're making progress, because you can pick up all these books very early on and get some growth early on in the game, and hopefully that keeps players interested in the game. Yeah, that is not necessarily required, but why not? And scouting is probably the most essential skill in the early part of the game, and I show that off in one of my first devlogs. So yeah, definitely a necessity. And yeah, the ones that are almost required, they have a very, very low experience point cost, so that I try to set up the points so that the player doesn't lock themselves out of something that they absolutely need to continue. And you can get by without scout early on, but it makes things a lot easier. Okay, so like I said, if I can't show off anything interesting that's new, what I would like to show off is maybe how to do something. So let me show you the implementation side, and this would be, especially for anyone that's kind of getting into Stencyl and is ready to want to implement some of these kinds of features. Let me show how I implemented this. So I'm going to close out the game here, and first of all, let me show you kind of how a typical scene is set up. So I'll just pick one of these at random. Yeah, here's a scene. It's in a level that I haven't showed you all yet. But you can see the scene here has a number of behaviors. The camera behavior, the game manager. Game manager just kind of manages like the inventory screen and basic kind of things like that. The inventory manager actually is the one that manages the cards, so manipulating the inventory objects, not necessarily HUD related stuff, and that's what game manager does, anything HUD related. Health manager I think is pretty self-explanatory. Scene exit. So this is one that comes up from time to time. How do you effectively transition between scenes? And this actually might be another thing that I can kind of show you how I've done. How do you set up like power pickups and stuff that persist through scene changes? So for example, if I pick up one of those gems, that's an actor. I go into another scene, go back to the previous scene, I want that gem pickup to stay picked up. I don't want it to pop up again. So here's two things I did to make my life easier. First of all, for managing scenes, this behavior monitors or watches for the player leaving the screen and then automatically switches to whatever scene is the next one. And I have offsets set up so that for example, if the player leaves off of the right of the screen, that's the east exit. Let's say the player is at a height of 64 units, but in the next scene, the west exit would be 128 units high. Well, then the offset will allow me to say, okay, add 64 units to the player's height so that there's a smooth transition. And as far as the pickups go, let me show you the pickups here. This has gotten a little bit more complicated than initially. Where's a pickup? Here's powerup, dud gold. Yeah, you can only get the golds once. But if you want to replay the level and go for a perfect rating, you still have to be able to get the gold coins, because there's the prospector bonus and the gold digger bonus. So I have a dud gold that doesn't actually contribute to the player's gold tally, but still serves as the pickup for points and bonuses. Here's a regular old pickup. So anything that's permanent has this behavior called UID, and that's for pickups. That's also if you kill an enemy. Anything that, yeah, there it is. Anything that if you kill it, it stays killed. If you pick it up, it stays picked up, has this behavior UID. And I've made this a little bit more, complex as, to solve problems that came up. But the simplest version of this is, let me show you what this behavior does. So what essentially the behavior does is it saves a string to a list of killed actors. And for anyone who's not aware of or has never worked with Stencyl before, when you kill an actor, that doesn't mean, killing in a more, everyday sense, like here's an enemy and I killed it. It means more like you deleted the actor. So if you pick up a gem and now that actor is collected, you kill the actor. So anytime an actor is killed, here we go, it saves its UID. So UID is for unique identifier. It saves its unique identifier to a list of identifiers, and if that identifier is in the list when the scene begins, it is killed. So when an actor is created, it is given a unique, well, it already has a unique identifier. So when an actor is created, it checks to see if its unique identifier is in the database of collected UIDs. And if it is, then that actor is immediately deleted, that guard won't show up again, that power pickup won't be available again. So the downside to this is I usually, before I thought of this, would have to type in a unique identifier for every single actor. That was a huge pain. But I also realized that, let me show you a level here. No two actors are stored in the exact same position. So rather than have to go into the inspector here and manually type in a unique identifier for everything that should stay dead when it's killed, I can create one, which is what's done here, using the coordinates, the scene name, and what type of actor it is. There we go. So I can override this. That's what the fixed UID is. And there are some reasons why I would want to override this. I'll kind of show you in a moment. But when the actor is created, if it doesn't have a permanent unique identifier, that unique identifier is created. And then that unique identifier is checked against the database. If the unique identifier is in the database, the whole actor is deleted, killed, and otherwise it's left alone. Okay, but see here, here's where it's added to the database. Now, I can manually override the default name, and here's why I would want to do that. So some of these levels, like level 1, here's Act 1, Level 1. So remember on the map, in fact, I'll just show you. That'll probably be a lot easier than trying to explain it. I'll just show you. I need to run the version of the game I can actually play, though. Okay. So here's Vallas map. So here's level 1. So Marika's Run was the level we started at. And level 2, investigation, look what happens when I start it. Okay, so it looks like level 1, right? It looks like the original level, but a few things are different. Like so far it looks the same, but there's guys now that weren't there before. And there's a slightly different set of power pickups. So what I wanted to do was to let the player kind of, let me concentrate here, get through. Okay, what I wanted to do is kind of let the player see the changes in the world, as they run through it. So I do reuse some levels, but then change the scenery. Of course, I don't want to do that too much. So once you get through these first 2 screens, let me kill this guy. Oh, you didn't see that. Let me just throw this axe behind me. Okay, here we go. Let me get him out of the way. Do you remember when I was killing these turrets? You see it's not there anymore. So in my first playthrough, I killed that turret. I also killed the 3 that were up there. Or it wasn't. It was just that one in the middle. Of course, there's now a new one on the right, which, by the way, to get those 5 coins on, this takes some skill to do. Let's see if I can do this. Look at that. I got all 5 of them. You have to jump into that first one. Otherwise, actually here. I'll show you what happens if you try to run through that. I'm really proud of that. That's why I have to show that off. I'm really proud of that. That's a hard challenge. Okay, I'll try this again. Oh, because I saved it after I picked them up. Well, just pretend they're there. Yeah, you see how I get hit right before I get to where that fifth one would be? Now you get 1,600 points as a cool bonus for getting that. That's a pretty good amount of experience. And now we have a new level. So remember this room before, though in the first level, this was locked. And now you can go in, you can play the second part of it. So those turrets, if I go into level 2, there's the first 2 scenes that are similar to before, and then this third one. See, that turret's really there. You can zoom in a bit. See, that turret is really supposed to be there. If you kill it in the first version of the level, then it stays dead in the second version of the level. So that's why I set it up so that you can, set a custom unique identifier so that I can have actors share UIDs between levels and set up something like that so that if the player did not kill all the turrets in their first run through, when they get to level 2 and they're going through those first 3 scenes that are similar to the original level, those turrets will be there. So it's semi-permanent death. Now, the other thing is if you go back to level 1 and you replay it, then it will put all the turrets back and you have to kill them again. So I guess that's one risk you're taking if you replay a level. But there's not a lot of that kind of thing. Most of the levels I have planned are all distinct, but there are some that share scenes that you can run through different versions of them. Okay, so now the style bonuses. Let me show you how that's done, because I'm particularly proud of that too, and it's actually pretty simple. So let me go to this game manager behavior, and here we go. Add style bonus. So it's basically a game attribute. I'll show you a little bit about how that's set up. So I got my game attributes here. A lot of these I don't use anymore. But there's one in here. Where'd it go? Here we go. Style bonus. It's a map. So with the style bonus, the key, of course, is the name of the bonus, and then the value is how many times that's been picked up. So for example, for the cool bonus, let me show you how the cool bonus works. So let me go to power-up behaviors. Let's see. Look at all this. This is just blown up in complexity. Yeah, maybe a quick shout out to Lauren. Is it Lauren? Lauren, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that right. But yeah, if you haven't seen some of their utilities they have on the Discord and Stencyl forum, pick those up. There's a lot in here that are extremely useful. I don't use all of them, but it's nice to have them so that if I need them, they're there. There are a couple I actually use quite a bit. I was looking for the power-up one. This has gotten almost unmanageable. It'd be really not, like I've set up folders. I think just to make this easier, let me just go to a power-up and access to behavior this way. There it is. Award points on die. Which, by the way, one little detail with the UIDs. Let me pull that back up again, because that's actually important. So when you pick up an emerald or a ruby or something, you get points. And if the actor is killed by the UID behavior, you don't want to give the player more points. So I have a list here of behaviors that should be disabled, and if I need to kill an actor because its unique identifier shows it has already been collected, then the first thing I do is I loop through all those behaviors and disable them. So that way the player doesn't get the bonus again, or hear a bunch of pickup sounds or like sound effect on die. I left that one out, and when I walked into a room that had a bunch of those gems in it, I heard all of their collecting sounds at once, and that's not a pleasant experience if you have headphones on. Anyway, here we go. Increment style bonus. So if it's a gem, increment gem. If it's a gold, increment gold. It's pretty straightforward to set up, actually. Here's my increment code. And, if you actually would like to copy this, I could share it to you, but I think it might be easier just to kind of pause this video and look at it. I do have a debug, by the way. Yeah, it's pretty simple. Just add a tally to a map. And then at the end of the level, let me go to an end level here. So here's an end level. It has a flag on it. So end levels have one additional behavior that the other scenes do not have, which is a style bonus computer. And all it does is, this is not my proudest bit of code, but it gets the job done. It checks all the cool bonuses, or all the style bonuses I should say, and computes a score based off of how many times it's been collected. And I also increment a par. So a lot of these have a par. To get all of the row grading points, you have to get the par for all of them. And so then the par is computed basically as some fraction of 800 based off of how many of these style bonuses you've gotten par for. And that's all. I mean, if you want to implement a system like this yourself, you don't necessarily have to get as fancy as I did with points. More or less what I'm trying to do is just eliminate grunt work. I just want to count the number of gems and then say, okay, that's how many I have, and I'll do the computation. But the important part of this system is really the tally. What you do with those tallies later on, that's you can handle that any way you want. And yeah, there's the rogue rank. So yeah, I forgot what the cutoffs were. Yeah, 800 for P. It says greater than or equal to. You can't go over 800 unless there's a bug. Hopefully there's not. My mud server I was talking about, there was an O, because I accidentally had it set up so you can get over perfect. That's what O meant, over perfect. And rather than fix the bug, I just called it a feature, and there we go. New feature. More than perfect. In any case, that's more or less all I have for everyone. So maybe next time I'll have gotten a little bit further with the state manager, and I can talk about how that works, because I'm really pleased with that. General advice for those that are new to game development in general, Stencyl or otherwise. Code refactoring. It's just something you kind of have to do from time to time, especially with big projects. Terrible. This is not the way I want to spend my time, because visually nothing's changed. I have the same levels, the same feature set, etc. It's just at some point it gets so hard to work with your code, you have to redo it. And this is awful. This animation listener, look at this. All of these events to handle animations. I have all these, custom blocks set up. Debugging is a nightmare. The reset. This reset this is awful. If the animation needs to be reset, I then have to figure out what animation to reset to. And I think, if there is, any indication that I've had trouble with this thing, look at all these little print statements here, trying to debug things. It's long overdue. So I'll be glad when I'm done. Until next time, thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.